All right, Shalom. This is a brother Nahoya from the GMS Orlando Cap. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rokah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah. And a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwad who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 18 and verse 27. And it reads, "A wise man will fear in everything, and in the day of sinning he will beware of offense, but a fool will not observe time." All right, I want to go into a lesson based on this BOY situation of Israelites, basically burning the flag, and this goes into the sensationalism, the gimmicks and everything that comes with Jake just clout chasing, not really observing the times, not really being wise as serpents and harmless as doves, but doing things to get a name, to get fame. All right. Now I want to bring this account out. All right. In Maccabees. And I'll just get to the point. So this first Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 43. And it reads, "Eleazar also surnamed Savaron, perceiving that one of the beasts armed with royal hardness was higher than all the rest, and supposing that the king was upon him, put himself in jeopardy to the end he might deliver his people and get him a perpetual name. Wherefore he ran upon him courageously through the midst of the battle, slaying on the right hand and on the left, so that they were divided from him on both sides. Which done, he crept under the elephant and thrust him under and slew him, whereupon the elephant fell down upon him, and therefore he died." All right, now the key point in this account, all right, is that he wanted to get a perpetual name. All right, he wanted to get that name and that renown for that effort. And a lot of these gimmicks, all right, are really stemming from the desire of vainglory. Because the burning of the flag does not do anything towards edification. It has nothing to do with edification. It's really just sensationalism. All right, let's get that. This is Galatians chapter 5 and verse 26. And it reads, "Let us not be desirous of vain glory, provoking one another, envying one another." All right. And ultimately, that vain glory goes into something that is empty. All right. Because that effort, what they're doing is just creating a controversy for naught. It's not edifying. All right. And this goes back to that spirit of zealots, not really discerning the seasons and times, just being an Israelite and just moving off of pure zeal and not being observant of the times. There's a reason when Paul was in the Roman captivity, he spoke certain things in code. The mystery of iniquity. He didn't just go right out and say, the Romans are the devil, because again, he was in another man's system and he had to move with a certain level of discretion and wisdom. Yahweh Shai said, "Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." All right. Matter of fact, let's get this. This is 2 Corinthians 6 and 3. And it reads, "Giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed." All right. And there's a reason the Lord talked about moving wise as serpents and harmless as doves, so that the ministry would not be blamed or lumped in with zealots and physical or carnal rebellion. Because during Paul's time, even the apostles, Rome was dealing with many rebellions, not just in doctrine, but physical rebellions. Most of the military was sent out during the height of the Roman Empire. It was sent out to quell rebellions, because a province will rebel physically, and ultimately that ended up with 70 AD, where we got kicked out of our land, the destruction of Jerusalem. So during the Roman captivity, Paul is instructing to give no offense, that the ministry be not blamed, meaning you don't want these carnal rebellions to be tied into the ministry. You don't want them to all be lumped into the same thing, because what's happening right now is with those recent attacks, there's going to be a refreshing of the push towards DTs, domestic teas. All right. And guys like this who do shit like this really don't understand what they're a part of, because, again, we're in a time of persecution. But that doesn't mean you give them ammunition. They're going to do it anyway. So the idea of doing this is to no avail. It doesn't bring forth edification. It's really just carnal. And it's only for vainglory. You can only assume it's for vainglory because it doesn't edify. What did Paul say? He said, do all things to edify. All right, matter of fact, let's get it. Let's go here. This is Romans 14 and 19. Let us therefore follow after the things which make for peace, and things wherewith one may edify another. And an act like that doesn't edify anybody. And it definitely doesn't follow after peace. Because a lot of these, I'll call them Islamic teas. All right. When you deal with the Middle East, they're known for doing things like that. Burning the flag. They're known for that. So doing something like that just easily gives Esau ammunition for the ministry to be blamed. Now, scriptures talk about being blameless. And again, we're not perfect. We all fall short of the glory of Yahweh Shema Shai. Yet, this does nothing to edify. This doesn't help. And when the elders rebuked them, they basically bucked up against it. Instead of acknowledging their offense, like, you know what? Maybe this isn't wise. Maybe this isn't edifying. Maybe this isn't a good discerner of times concerning my actions. Instead, they just rebelled against the rebuke, because ultimately this does nothing to edify. All this does is give Esau ammunition to lump the ministry in with the Islamic teas and the Muslim teas and all of these different carnal rebellions. And this shows that Jake has no discernment of times. Brother said oftentimes, just knowing you're an Israelite is not necessarily the finish line. You also have to understand the time that you're living in and how you're supposed to move in that time. All right, this is Matthew 16 and 1. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired him that he should show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times? And you have to remember that Yahweh Shai was talking to Israelites. He was talking to Israelites who knew that they were Israelites during that time. So them being Israelites and knowing that wasn't the issue in this particular case. It was that they didn't really discern and understand the times that they were living in. Likewise, in these last days, you're going to have a lot of Israelites who don't really understand the time that we're living in. In Ezekiel 37 chapter, it says, it talks about the bones that didn't have any breath in them at a certain point. And that breath goes into the wisdom. Because you can know you're an Israelite and not be wise. Because you have to understand the time that we're living in through the Spirit. There's a time and a place for everything under the sun. And there's a reason that Yahweh Shai said what he said concerning how we should move in this world. As a matter of fact, let's get that. This is Matthew chapter 10 and verse 16. And it reads, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. And Jake, forget this part. It says, be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. that action would not be considered a harmless action. It's a provocation. We're already speaking against Babylon the Great. We're already bringing out the word. And that's what this is supposed to be. The ministry is set up to teach. It's not set up to present gimmicks. It's not set up to present sensationalism. It's meant to teach what's in the scriptures correctly. Because there's been so many lies pushed out about the word that this ministry is set up to edify the elect. Lord, will we be a part of that number? It's not for sensationalism. And this has nothing to do with being afraid of Esau. But you have to understand through the Spirit that the ministry itself is supposed to be blameless. It's not supposed to be something that is lumped in with everything else. And we know Esau is going to do it, but we should understand as well that we don't give him any ammunition. All right. And that's being wise concerning the times that we're in and how we should conduct ourselves. All right. Matter of fact, let's go here. This is Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 14. And it reads, "Wherefore he saith, Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Hamashiach shall give thee light. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time." All right. And Jake not redeeming the time. All right. That wasn't an action that redeems time. That's like Paul being in the Roman captivity and burning the eagle sigil. Just instead of being in a marketplace teaching, he's in a marketplace with the eagle sigil and he's burning it. That ain't wise. That's not prudent. That's not giving no offense that the ministry should not be blamed. Let's continue. Ephesians 5 and 16, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. And the will of the Lord is for us to preach the gospel. All right. Not to create these gimmicks and these controversies just for vainglory, but to do all things toward edification. Going back into teaching, being wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Our weapon through the Spirit, our weapons are not carnal. It's the teaching of this word. And to the best of our ability, edifying, being wise as serpents and harmless as doves, so that the ministry itself is not blamed. Meaning the ministry is not attributed to physical rebellion. You got to be a visionary. Like in the New Testament, during the time of the apostles, during the time of Paul, there were open rebellions happening. You had Jake that was rising up against the Roman system. And this is why you see certain things said in the letters of Paul, going into being at peace with all men if it be possible. Certain things were being said as a separator of what was already going on during the Roman system. There were open rebellions during the Roman Empire. All right. And Paul was expressing certain wisdom concerning the time that they were in. All right. And we're in that time again, because Esau is going to come down with great wrath. All right. He knows he has a short time, so he's going to come down with great wrath, and he's going to shape the conversation as if he's justified. Now, knowing this, we don't give him the ammunition to do that. All right, that the ministry be not blamed. Yahushua wasn't in the Roman captivity, burning sigils and burning coin and melting coins down in the marketplace as a sign of protest. No, he was teaching. He was teaching the word. The word itself is going to bring forth persecution. There's no need to do the extras. All right, let's go here. This is Romans chapter 14 and verse 19. And it reads, "Let us therefore follow after things which make for peace, and things wherewith one may edify another." All right, because again, one of those arguments that Jake will try to use is to say, calling the so-called white man the devil is not necessary, but it is concerning edification. You know, our people don't understand that we have actual enemies, and that according to the Bible, Esau is the devil. The self-proclaimed white man is the devil according to the Bible. That goes into edification. There is no edification in burning a flag. There's no edification in that. There's no edification in that. There's no profiting concerning edification and building up the faith of the elect in burning the flag. It's really just vainglory. It's creating controversy for vainglory's sake. The word itself is controversial enough in this world that's dark and perverted. Scriptures say this is the condemnation, that light has come into the world and men love darkness rather than light. It doesn't need the gimmicks. It doesn't need the antics. All right, this is Slakia. Romans 12:18. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. All right, and that goes into, again, not doing the antics and the extras. You know, there's no need for the antics. The word is the word. The word is going to stir up strife within itself. And this goes into being wise as serpents and harmless as doves. This goes into wisdom itself. Because wisdom is going to be able to be a discerner, all right, of the times and the seasons. And that goes into understanding the time that we're actually living in. And Jake doesn't use discretion. They don't have a understanding of discretion. Those guys who did this. All right, because if they did, they would know that this is not edifying. This doesn't help anything. Now, ultimately, Esau's going to come down anyway. But this is not an edifying moment. You know, it's really a stumbling block. Because it's stirring up that zealot spirit. And we know, just like the Lord told Daniel to stand in his light at the end of days, you're going to have a lot of zealots that stand up as Israelites, but they have a carnal fashion. All right. This is Proverbs 2:11. Discretion shall preserve thee. Understanding shall keep thee. All right. And that goes into, again, you have to understand the times that we're living in and how to move in those times. And that's why I brought up the Maccabee account, because, you know, he wanted glory. He wanted that name, and he did something. He just went out. According to that zeal and that desire for glory, he just went out and did something, and it cost him his life. And we actually coming into a time where those type of moves are going to cost Jake their life. Because, again, the wisdom has been left to us through the scriptures. It's been given to us what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to move. But Jake will take, we're Israelites, and then they'll just run with their own mind. And then the whole ministry is, a lot of these antics, they're going to come back on the ministry. And it ain't going to matter which camp. It's just going to come back on Israelites in general. And the Lord is going to use that to basically start with his house first, to purge the rebels, so to speak. Because, again, these antics don't edify anybody. These antics aren't helpful. Nobody gains anything from these antics. It's really just Jake trying to be popular for being popular's sake, trying to get a name for themselves. Like the guy in the Maccabees. All right, and that's why discretion is so important. All right, this is Proverbs 3:21. And it reads, my son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. Matter of fact, let's do this. Proverbs 2:11. I want to go back to that. And I want to get that word for discretion. All right. And that Hebrew word for discretion is mazamah. Mazamah. And it says purpose, discretion, device, plot. Now I'm going to look this up in the dictionary. Discretion. It says discretion has the meaning of acting on one's own authority and judgment. In law, discretion as to legal rulings, such as whether evidence is excluded at trial, may be exercised. Now I'm going to go down to the dictionary, another New Oxford American Dictionary. It says the quality of behaving or speaking in such a way as to avoid causing offense or revealing private information. I'm going to read that one more time. Discretion, the quality of behaving or speaking in such a way as to avoid causing offense or revealing private information. All right. And a lot of Jake don't have discretion. That's why they'll talk about where your fringe is at and all of these different things. And it's really just Jake being carnal, not properly applying discretion. And it don't mean you scared because you're moving prudent with discretion. All right. The Lord told us to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. That move wasn't a wise move. It just wasn't. It wasn't edifying. It wasn't wise. It wasn't in line with discretion. And discretion is important in the time that we coming into, man. It's deadly serious. Matter of fact, let me get this in the NLT. So it's Proverbs 2:11 in the NLT. It says, wise choices will watch over you. Understanding will keep you safe. That wasn't a wise choice. All right. And this is why, beginning with the apostles and elders, the rebuke came out about that because it's just not prudent. Scriptures talk about doing no thing to give to that the ministry, Salakia, be not blamed. There's no reason for doing that outside of the desire for vainglory, man. And this is why discretion is so important. We're in a time where discretion is extremely important. And the lack of discretion is going to get Jake killed out here, man. All right, this is Proverbs 3. And I'm going to jump down to 21. It says, my son, let not them depart from thine eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion. So shall they be life unto thy soul and grace to thy neck. All right, now I'm going to read this in the NLT. Proverbs 3:21. In the NLT, it says, my child, don't lose sight of common sense and discernment. All right, that move lacks common sense. All right. Now, again, it also says wisdom and discretion. And as the scriptures say, with all thy wisdom, get understanding. Just knowing you're an Israelite doesn't necessarily mean you have understanding if you're not discerning in the times that we're living in. All right, we're not living in a time through the spirit where brash actions like that are going to go without consequence. Esau's going to use that as ammunition. All right. And this is why Paul, throughout his letters, was expressing the same sentiment of being wise, of not chasing after vain glory. If at all possible, be at peace with all men, giving no offense that the ministry be not blamed, because Paul was living in a time where actions like that would have got a man killed. In the Roman era, Paul didn't give out no order saying, look, you should go ahead and just burn eagles in the marketplace. When you debating and you telling them about the Lord, burn an eagle. Burn up. They ain't do that, man, because it's not wise. It's not a act of discretion. It's not prudent. And this shows you that a lot of Israelites know that they're Israelites, but they don't necessarily have the breath in them to understand what's going on around them. They're not a discerner of the times and the seasons that we're living in. But this, again, is an edifying moment because, again, somebody may see this. All right, they may see that action and they may see the videos that the apostles and the elders bring out. And they may say, and they may look within themselves and say, oh, okay, it ain't just about me knowing I'm an Israelite. A light bulb will click into the elect's head if it hasn't already, that this isn't prudent. There's certain things that aren't considered unlawful, but it's not expedient either. All right, this is Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. All right, and Jake has to discern that, especially us as Israelites. We're in a season. All right, let's continue. It says a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up, that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. And a time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get out, a time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. And that time of keeping silence is going to come. All right, that famine of the word. All right, but for now, through the Spirit, the job is to edify, not to create unnecessary controversy, but to read the scriptures, understand the scriptures, read the scrolls, eat the roll, and preach to the children of Yasharallah. But it's going to be actions like this that zealous Israelites are going to do that's going to give Esau ammunition. All right, because with the 2 attacks around the holidays, they're already pivoting to focus on DTs. And moves like what this Jake just did is just another piece of ammunition. And whether he does it or doesn't do it, prophecy is still going to play out. But again, this is an edifying moment concerning what Paul was actually expressing in the scriptures as far as that the ministry be not blamed, not doing things that could go back on the ministry and make the ministry look like something it's not. Even though that was happening during that time, Paul was still exhorting, don't add to it. All right, so Lord willing, this was edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.